with Crystal. Today we're going to be comparing mac and cheese. We're going to be comparing the store-bought version versus the homemade version. To check out that recipe, go ahead and click the link here. You can see how I make our homemade mac and cheese and what this used to look like before we devoured it. But today we're not going to be just comparing taste, because obviously usually homemade wins out in the taste department. What we're going to be comparing today is things like which one is cheaper? Is the store-bought or is the homemade? Which one is healthier? I wonder. And then also, how much waste do you leave behind from each recipe? All right, we are gonna start with comparing price, because this is something I've always wanted to know. Okay, so the great value, when you buy it in the box, it costs 34 cents for the box. Now with this, you do have to add butter and milk, or margarine and milk. Now depending on how big of a milk or how much margarine or butter could vary your price. This ended up being about $6.12. Now this one was $5, the Velveeta, $5.12, and all of this is before tax, of course. And this one you don't have to buy anything to add to it, so that is a bonus there. It's all included in the package. Now, when it comes to the homemade mac and cheese, if I had to buy everything, I'm looking at $19.93, so about 20 bucks. But now, if we divide all of this per cup and divide up what we used, how much milk we used, how much cheese we used, how much butter we used, if we do all that and break it all down by the cup and by the usage, here's what our totals will be. Our homemade mac and cheese comes in at about 80 cents per cup. The Velveeta comes in about 85 cents per cup. And the great value, when you add your milk and butter, again, you can make it cheaper based off of what kind of stuff you buy, comes in at 53 cents per cup. So obviously your great value is going to be your better deal per cup. Now, but when it comes to having that creamy, delicious mac and cheese, surprisingly, the homemade is a little cheaper than your Velveeta. So that was very interesting for me to discover. So this whole pan per cup costs about $12 to make. So that's pretty cool. I kind of like that the homemade was cheaper than the Velveeta. So for me, it felt like it made it worth it to go ahead and put in the effort to make the homemade. So another thing that I wanted to compare in is waste. I am kind of interested in the idea of zero waste. As far as waste, your Velveeta, you've got a cardboard box and a foil packet. The foil packet cannot be recycled, the cardboard box can. So this one probably is your least amount of waste. When you buy this one, you have the packet as well that can't be recycled, the box, but then you also have your gallon of milk. Now the thing is, you're probably going to be buying that anyways. It's something you have in your household. And if you want to spend a little extra money, you can buy your milk in glass bottles. Now this one does have a lot of waste involved. You have all of your plastic wrappers that can't be recycled from your cheeses, you have your milk, you have your boxes, of course, can be recycled, but this one does create a lot of more waste. However, some of that waste you probably were going to create anyways if you're like me and you buy milk and butter and cheese on a regular basis. Now, the other thing that I wanted to compare, I forgot to mention, was time. How much time is involved? So I wrote down when I started making the homemade, but it took me about 40 minutes, probably about 30 minutes if I wasn't distracted. But being a mom, you get lots of interruptions. So probably 40 minutes to make this version of mac and cheese. So these probably take significantly less. Now, if you take off the final step of baking, your panko crumbs, and if you don't even put the panko crumbs on, you're comparable to your box mac and cheese. It's so simple to do. I don't understand why people wouldn't do it. For me, the homemade mac and cheese wins out. And now the final thing that we're gonna evaluate is healthiness. Now this one, I'm rough estimates guessing, but let's go ahead and take a look at all of the health and nutrition facts. So this is gonna be based off of per cup. Now, if you're like me, you eat way more than a cup of mac and cheese, but homemade definitely has the most calories. So you're looking at 478, I'm gonna put ish on there because I'm doing the math here, guys, but it's probably close. 478-ish calories. When you come to the Velveeta, it is 380 calories. Now the great value when you add in the butter and the milk, this one comes out at 420 calories. I was a little surprised by that the Velveeta won out in the least amount of calories. Let's go ahead and look at our protein. I know a lot of people out there that are health minded think about protein. Okay, so when it comes to protein, your homemade version has 15.4 grams of protein per cup. So that's pretty good. Now the Velveeta had 14 grams, so your homemade's looking at more protein. And your great value had less, it had 10 grams. So that's one perk, is your protein helps balance out your carbs a little bit. So this one, the homemade one, is higher in protein because it uses all that real stuff, cheese and all of that good stuff. Okay, now let's look at carbs. Another thing that we like to think about when it comes to health is carbs. So when it comes to your homemade mac and cheese and carbs, this one was 32.4, what is that, grams of carbs. Your Velveeta surprisingly has more carbs, 52 grams of carbs. I was really surprised by that. You know, having the breadcrumbs and all that stuff. The only thing I can think of is some of the additives or some of the stuff that they use in their Velveeta cheese. I'm not sure on that one. And then your great value had 55 carbs. So this one has more carbs as well. So these are higher in carbs. That blew my mind. I was like, so you're getting more protein and less carbs. So that sounds good to me. For homemade, that's kind of a win for me over here in the homemade. It is more calories, but calories are okay. The next thing I wanted to look at is sodium. Your homemade has 508 milligrams of sodium. Now this could be a little bit more depending on how much salt you add and adding your salt in. This is just based off of the ingredients. So it probably is a little higher when you add in your salt to taste. And then the Velveeta for sodium has 910 milligrams. And your great value has 690 milligrams. So this Velveeta, that's one negative for it. It has higher sodium count. So not so fun there. So when it comes to cholesterol, homemade is high in cholesterol because of all of that cheese. So you've got 53 milligrams of cholesterol. And then for the Velveeta, 20 milligrams. And for the great value, 45 milligrams. So Velveeta has less cholesterol. So that's a good thing there. Your homemade is higher in that. All right, the final thing is fat. So in fat, the homemade is 17.8 grams. Your Velveeta is 12 grams. And your great value is 18 grams. Looks like the great value is higher in fat. The Velveeta is the lowest in fat. So those are the numbers. So I hope with this information that you can make some good choices for your family. These are things that I've always wondered and have never taken the time to sit down and really look at it. All right, until next time, I'm Crystal Kime, and this is Cooking with Crystal. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out some of my other recipes, and I will see you guys in the next video. All right, bye.